Hello and welcome to the Department of Inefficiency. I've not uploaded in some time as I've been a little under the weather, but I'm feeling a bit better now. I had to delete a bunch of my old recordings, I wasn't happy with the audio, so there's probably going to be some bits missing. I'll try and fill in the gaps as best I can. It's not like I started recording at the beginning of the playthrough, so I don't think it matters that much. My eventual hope for this base is to reach as high an effective SPM as possible, given my hardware constraints. I will warn you that my building strategy is probably described as ad hoc at best, and absolutely disgusting at worst. I'm currently working on an upcycling station on Fulgora. It will incorporate a fuel production plant for sending rocket fuel off-world. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work great. I've also spent some time in the editor figuring out grid spacing so I can work on creating my own blueprints. And I've spent more time than I care to admit designing an efficient rail system. So let's hop in. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of bots. Currently waiting for them to disassemble a bunch of storage chests I had built a bit further down. I decided to build the rocket fuel production facility here because you basically have heavy oil on tap, and who can complain about that? This is it slowly getting put together. My Navi base has come together nicely. It still needs a lot more work, but it's mostly self-sufficient. Don't really have to worry about any biter incursions or anything like that. So that's nice. I suppose there's some things that I'd like to change, but I'm gonna avoid doing that until I've completed the rest of the game so I can start working on my end game designs. I've also spent a bit of time working on Vulcanus. Somewhat lazily, but it works for now. I now have access to turbo belts, which is a very nice upgrade. Here we are, adding some solar power banks in for Fulgora, which is very crucial. I think I've got most of the equipment down that I need for producing the fuel, and I'll leave myself a little bit of a gap for the upcycling. As you can see, I tend to build out a lot more than required. I don't really need all the space, but I'm sure it will get used later on. I spent a good amount of time working on my science production facility. Now, I did have one before, but this was more of a concerted effort towards making one that produced one full belt, one full turbo belt of science per second, giving me 3,600 a minute. So not all of my base looks completely terrible. I kind of like the design of the splitter that I've got here for the science belts. I do like to sit and watch my factory sometimes, just to see it running. This is probably why I've got like 500 hours so far in this playthrough, but who's counting her? I did notice that some of my purple science wasn't quite producing one belt, so I did have to take a little look, and as it would turn out, I'm not making train tracks quite as quickly as I'd like. I didn't design all my own blueprints for this, as you can see there. I did steal the belt balancer blueprint book from the internet, but it's there to use, and what's the point reinventing the wheel? More often than not, I'll end up retrofitting an existing design rather than just rebuilding it completely. It's mostly down to laziness, and probably also explains why most of my base looks pretty hideous. I'd also spent a bit of time working on Glover. I've not been on this planet for too long, and as you can see, instead of making a robust delivery system for the agricultural science packs, I just decided to ship all of the other science packs here instead, as a stopgap, just so I can unlock some more new technology. I was mostly happy with this design. It's not terrible, it does its job. It could certainly be more efficient, but you know, that's for later down the line. We don't need to worry about that right now. So you will also see I do use bots quite a lot, quite heavily to be honest. These are just another stopgap. I don't intend on using them in the final design other than delivering science packs from the cargo landing pad, but they're useful now for all sorts of stuff, I guess. For now I'll be using the bots to deliver the Yumikos, but later on I will get a belt system up and running so that, you know, the bots aren't quite as heavily used. So it's a little bit more up and running now. There's certainly some issues with the base, but yeah, as you can see, the jellies are getting fed straight into the heating towers. Just suppose it's not ideal, but I'm not really using those too much at the minute. It could be producing more nutrients as well, but you know, that's another thing for later on. This is a recurring theme, you will see. So I went to collect some pentapod eggs to get my system up and running again. It looks like we've got a bit of an incursion from one of them. I think they've been attracted by all the pollution. We've got to do a quick check back on Fulgora because we're not getting the amount of rockets that I'd like to be sent, and it's causing an issue. Because I'm using this as a fuel production base, then most of it's going to Gleba, so that can be powered. Though we're having a bit of an issue with copper plates at the minute for the low density structures. We're also waiting for some more turbo belts. I think we've run out of those, so I'm going to send a little bit over. There we go, we've got a nice tandem rocket launch. Everything seems to be shipshape here, which is good. I won't lie, the design could certainly be better, but it's not awful. We came back to Fulgora. I decided I was going to use most of the unused refined concrete so I can put a floor down on Gleba. And we're also starting to get the, well, it's built now, but I wanted to get the main production for electromagnetic science up and running. Sadly, the only way to move things back and forth between the South and the North Island at the minute is by train, so I kind of have to retrofit a little design so I can move certain things. It works okay, it means I don't have to go back to the planet, so I don't have to worry about that too much. And then we're shipping most of the rest of the recycled stuff straight up towards the north base. Once that's done, I suppose I can probably remove that train track, but it can stay there for now. I'm sure it'll come in handy at some point. In order to deal with the problem of no copper plates, I decided to start recycling all the copper cables that I was getting from the initial recycling, which worked okay for a while and then stopped. So just another example of way overbuilding. I decided to put some city blocks down so that when I do expand, I've got plenty of room to do so. I'm not putting any flooring down yet. It's starting to go down, but it's very slow, and so is my science production. I think the main issue I had here was producing enough nutrients to be sent to the pentapod egg production facility. I should probably not have split it down here, and I should have just made two, one going one way, one going the other. But it does get rebuilt later on. Another little ad hoc addition to the factory, just so I can pick some science up so I can send it over to Gleber. So we have all our science packs on Gleber now, and it seems like the production of agricultural science has backed up a little bit, so there's plenty to work with for now. I also decided to ship some bots over towards Gleber. There's no way I'm making those in situ, so we're getting those sent over now, and they will help build up the rest of my factory. I also decided to remove some of the redundant outer walls from my Navi base. I built this out in a way that I can just rein it back in later on. It's not very neat, and yeah, it doesn't look great, but it's effective. Here we are, getting rid of several thousand laser turrets, several thousand walls. I'm so glad my computer can handle this. It's also nice to watch the bots take everything apart. I think I've got like 130,000 bots. I think I may only have 30,000 construction bots on Navi, but I've got 130,000 logistics bots, which I'm never going to need. But they're handy in case they ever do. And then we can also watch the biters get destroyed by all the artillery turrets after I upgraded the range. I don't think the biters are having a good time today. As it would turn out, I somehow have managed to remove all of the inserters for the artillery turrets, and therefore none of the biter bases or the biters are getting targeted from the top row. So we're just going to sort that out nice and quickly. This thing happens quite a lot, I'm not going to lie to you. I suppose you could say that I should probably make smaller zones for my bots, even at bot speed 13, maybe 12. They look like they travel incredibly slowly. Am I going to change it? Probably not. Not right now, anyway. So the inserters have now been delivered, and it would appear that the biters are having a very bad time. I think they've come to petition against the use of artillery, but we're not going to listen to them. But anyway, I think that's enough for today's video. I hope you liked it. If there's anything you'd like to see, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.